Welcome to TEPSA Talk, the podcast where leaders inspire, share, and grow together. TEPSA is dedicated to celebrating the incredible work happening in education. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations with leaders, change-makers, and innovators who are shaping the future of our schools. Whether you're looking for fresh ideas, encouragement, or a little spark to fuel your passion, TEPSA Talk is here for you. Imagine tuning in to hear how leaders are revolutionizing their schools, tackling challenges head-on, and fostering a culture of collaboration. Grab a coffee, hit play, and let's grow together. Welcome to TEPSA Talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all-new TEPSA Talk podcast episode. My name is Todd Nesloney, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are thrilled to bring you different thought leaders from around the world every week, and I am super excited about our guest today and the topic we're going to be talking about, and we have none other than Tom with us. Tom, introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are.
Sure. My name is Tom Sauve. I am the 5th through 12th grade principal in Elmwood, Wisconsin. We are a very small rural school on the very west side of the state, pretty close to Minneapolis and St. Paul. This is just beginning my 7th year in the role, and we've had some pretty fun success here academically the last few years. We've seen things take off, and we're having a good time in Elmwood.
Well, Tom, I am pumped about this conversation because you and I got to connect at the United Principals Conference in Seattle this summer, and we connected over a topic that we both are pretty passionate about, and that is hiring the right people. How do we do the interview process? How do we get them in there? How do we work with them? All these kind of things. And so today's topic of conversation is that hiring process, because I think as administrators, we take a little bit for granted over the preparation required, and that just because you've been in an interview, it doesn't mean you know how to do an interview. So I'd love to just kind of talk about your process first. So when you are looking for applicants and you find one that you want to interview, what does your process even look like where you are?
So for us, hiring is very, very important because our hiring pools aren't very big. Right? We're lucky sometimes if we get 5 or 6 applicants in a pool. So what we have to do is we have to figure out how to market our own district so that we can set ourselves apart from everyone else. And some of that's been happening through our academics. But more than anything, when we see candidates that we like, we need to make sure that we take extra special care of them. So by the time they finish the hiring process with us in Elmwood, it's not a question of if they want to work in Elmwood. It's a question of when can I start because I love this place. I want to be here. So we, over the years, just listening to different people in our region, we only live about an hour from Joe Sanfilippo. If you've seen Fall Creek Go Crickets, Joe's only about an hour away from us. In fact, our daughters, they compete against each other in track and field. So I see Joe quite a bit. So I'm able to bounce ideas off of Joe. But, we've had Jimmy Casas around our state as well. Between Jimmy and Joe, we've kind of heard about these different ways to, really strengthen our culture and get the right candidates. So we've taken some of their ideas, and it's worked so well. We haven't actually had to hire somebody in 3 years now. So, and really it starts with our hiring process. But we talk, so our admin team is just myself. Like I said, I'm 5'12", and then our superintendent does pre-K through 4. So it's just the two of us. And we were trying to figure out ways to really set ourselves apart. And so in our process, we really go the extra mile. And what a lot of it is simply kind of customer service. We always talk about how in order to take care of our little people, we need to make sure we take care of our big people. So our interviews start really the second we call a candidate, and we talk a lot about, small town feel, strong culture. We make sure that in our conversations, we give them a few questions every time. We always tell them we want to see the best version of you possible. So in order for that to happen, I'm going to give you the first question, I'm going to give you the last question, and they're pretty simple, but we tell them those questions so that they can come in, they can rehearse how they want to start their interview, and then they come in and they kill it. And we want to see the best version of them because interviews can be intense, they can be tough. So we try to do whatever we can to set them at ease. We will tell our prospective candidates exactly who they're going to be in the room with, so that way they can go online and they can look up the different teachers. We kind of tell them everything we're about. We'll give them directions exactly to the front door of the school, step by step. And a lot of times these candidates are coming to us from close areas nearby, like they understand where Elmwood is. They know how to get to Elmwood, but we give them step-by-step directions to get to our front door. So they're like, man, they've got everything organized and taken care of here.
So I want to pause you right there because
Sure.
I love this because this is the reason why I wanted to have this conversation with you is these things are so simplistic things that anybody can implement, but they're often forgot about. So I want to kind of reiterate a couple of those because I love that you give people, even if it's just two questions, but two questions in advance of the interview. So I'd love to know, there's probably somebody listening today going, aren't you afraid like you're going to get a really fake person who's over practiced those answers and had a professional train them over the best thing to say and then they're just going to get through the cracks? What do you say to somebody who says that you're not getting a real person if you let them practice a couple of their answers?
If they said, you're going to get someone that's fake, I would say, I don't think so, because that's only 2 of 13 questions. We craft our questions in a way that we can get to the heart of the person real quick. And I know the main question that you and I, Todd, connected over was who inspired you to teach? We learn about everything we need to know out of our prospective candidate in that one question. And they don't see all of the questions, but they get the first one and the last one. And the first one is simply tell us about yourself and why you think you're a good fit for this job in Elmwood. So basically, all we're looking for is that they're personable and hopefully they're kind of eased in a little bit. The anxiety's down. We can usually tell in that first answer. And then we just want to make sure they did their homework on our district. So more than anything, I don't know that we're getting anything scripted and fake, and I haven't found that to be the case, in our hiring process. But like I said, we still have 11 other questions we ask where um, they need to bring their A game like in any interview. So I
But
think
I also love you just even letting them know who's going to be in the room. I think that's such a stress reliever for somebody, but it also allows those who are really like homework go-getters to do some research over who's going to be in that room. So maybe if I have a question at the end, I can tailor it to somebody in the room. But then even more so, I think it is such a great idea that you don't just tell them where the school is, regardless of the fact that you are a very small district and that people might be already familiar with the area, you don't even take that for granted. Like, still, even then, it's a hey, this is where our school is, but let me tell you the best place to park, where you can go and meet us, how you can get in the building. Like, those things can be very stressful for someone who's never walked on a campus before going, is that the right door? Do they want to meet here? Am I allowed to park in this spot? Like sometimes we don't even realize the messages signage sends and things. And so just giving them that information, like that's to me, this is such a like mind-blowing thing of this is so easy, but
it
it's
is.
such a misstep. How did y'all even think about stuff like that?
Like I said, just taking in different ideas from some of the people that we hear that speak on hiring, but then just thinking about, I had 5 years in restaurants in college. What does a customer service experience look like? What does it mean to be good, emotionally intelligent leaders? What are the things we can do to take the anxiety off of these candidates' shoulders? And we've all been in those interviews before where you're coming into a totally foreign place, you don't really know anybody there, but for me at least, I always felt like when I was able to kind of latch onto somebody that I felt like I could emotionally connect to, that would put me at ease. So some of the other things that we do, not only do we give them all this information, but we tell them, hey, the address or the email address you provided in your application, I'm going to send you all this information too, so you have it. That way they can look at it. They know exactly who's there. If they forgot anything, they can look it up on that sheet. The thing that we do as well is if we go to a second round of interviews, we don't really negotiate salaries where we are, and we want everybody to kind of be on that same level playing field. So we'll throw all of that information in there, all of our benefits information in there, and we'll say, hey, here's what it is. If we select you, this is what it's going to be. And we haven't had anybody tell us no at that phase of the interview process either, because we're extremely upfront. Usually by the time they get to that second interview, they know exactly what we stand for. Culture is extremely important in our building, and it's a place that people want to go to. And I do know this situation and the system still works for us because one of our things that we do here as well, we have 3 regional universities within an hour of our campus, and we run student teachers in and out of here like crazy. Because whether we were to hire one of them or not, they're all going to go back and they're going to tell all their friends, like, yeah, I student taught in Elmwood and it was awesome. And like our town is so small, there's no stoplight. You don't even have to stop your car to get from one side of town to the other. Like you can just speed on through. So it's very easy to blink and miss our town altogether. So we're, like I said, very strategic in how we work on getting people in the building, and we like to send people out and spread our message for us so that more applicants are like, oh no, my friend told me about Elmwood. I want to really apply here.
Well, I love that. And there's so many small districts in Texas that are just like that. And I can think of some that I've worked in that I'm like, this is so good information to have, because you really want to not only attract top talent, but you want them to be interested in you. Now, when we were talking about this before, there's also something you do that I am obsessed with. That if I was still school administrator, I would be stealing it immediately. Besides these other ideas, which I would totally be stealing too. But when you select a candidate, you do something very unique that I have never heard of before that I have to have you share with us.
Sure. So one of our questions of our 13 is who inspired you to teach? Now we ask that question twofold. Both Glenn and myself, our two administrators, we've both been coaches for athletics, and we have a very fundamental belief that coaches coach the way they were coached. So we also think therein teachers will teach the way that they were taught. So what we do is we ask that question, who inspired you to teach? And then the person pauses, they always smile, and they think about that favorite teacher they had, whether it was in second grade or ninth grade, or maybe that coach, whatever it might have been. And they start ripping off the things they love about that teacher. And that gives us a glimpse as into, okay, you know, that my teacher made me feel special. They want the extra mile. Those are the kind of answers we get. And we're like, okay, they're open to those things. So we can kind of mold them, we think, or coach them into kind of what we want. But the other thing that we do that makes it really fun is if we decide that for a prospective candidate that we want to offer them the position, if we are able to get a hold of that inspiration person, we will actually have them come in and offer the job. And Todd, the video I showed you, we have a classic YouTube video on our school district YouTube page where we offered a job mid-year in 2021 to a girl right out of college. And her mom was a 20-year veteran ELA teacher at the middle school level, which is the exact same position we were hiring this young lady for. And so I called mom and I said, hey, I really want you to come in. We're going to kind of lie a little bit and tell your daughter she's coming in for a second interview. But what we want to do is we want you to come in, surprise her, and we want you to offer the job on our behalf. Mom started crying immediately. And then I was like, oh man, we're into something pretty serious here. So in the video, they come together, and the hardest part was trying to keep the daughter and the mom away from each other. And Sierra, our teacher, she actually saw her mom driving in Elmwood. She's like, I thought I saw my mom, but that was weird. And I'm like, oh, weird. I don't think you saw your mom. Um, but then when she came in, she's like, I know I saw you. And mom kicked it all off by saying, I am so proud of you, and I would like to offer you this job on behalf of the school district of Elmwood. Mom immediately started tearing up. And Sierra's response, I get goosebumps every time I tell the story. But she said, with every ounce in my heart, I accept this job. I can't think of a place more better than Elmwood for me. And to be totally honest with you, she's taught like that since we hired her. She runs our middle school student council. If we need someone to do something, she jumps right in. The relationship between myself and Sierra, our teacher, is already pre-built. She fully trusts me. And I've been able to kind of push her in a way where she knows I care, and I'm not pushing her to push her to be a jerk. And I really think that's a huge thing. We also did this with a guy who grew up in a district that borders ours, and he had multiple opportunities at interviews in his home district, and they never hired him. And we brought him in for a physical education job, and we did the same thing where we brought in his Hall of Fame wrestling coach, who was this kind of older, gruff guy, salt of the earth kind of dude. And he came in and he's like, I've never done this before. This seems pretty cool. And so he came in and he offered the job to Corey, and they both started tearing up. And they are not like the crying type. And it's funny because I just spoke at a conference in June in Green Bay where I told this story. And when it was done, I was in a room of fellow, leaders and administrators. And this guy comes up to me and he says, "You're talking about my dad." I'm like, excuse me, like I didn't make the connection there at all initially. But that wrestling coach's son is a principal in the far northern part of our state, and he was in the room, and he said, the second you started talking about this, I knew it was my dad, and I knew it was Corey, and I texted both of them. He said my dad texted me back immediately and said that was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my role as an educator. And then Corey also texted back and he said, yeah, and that same district has tried to pull me 5 or 6 times now. And he's loyal to us. He's never going to leave. So, it's just going that extra mile, and our staff knows we genuinely care about them, not just as teachers, but as human beings. And I think that's more than half the battle with staff retention, with training. They're willing to be taught.
I remember watching the video that you're referring to, and her mom coming in. It was so powerful, and I just thought, when you have the opportunity to have the person that inspired them to be there, what a cool moment. Like, why would you not? And then to me, I'm just thinking, it's so exciting when somebody offers you a job regardless, but to have the person that inspired you to be a teacher or inspired you to be whatever role you're in to be there offering that on behalf of the group. I mean, wow. I love that so much. Okay, so as we wrap this conversation up, I'd love to know, are there any like hard lessons you've learned through the interview process? If you're like, we thought this was a good idea and we tried it, but it really didn't work for us, or we've learned to stop doing this part of the interview process because that just wasn't successful on our side. Anything like that stand out to you?
I would say the biggest thing that we've done is make sure that our questions really get to the heart of who we want. Right now, we are a school that has fully transitioned from a traditional grading model to standards-based grading. We have a fully comprehensive K-12 behavior system that we use all the way down, actually pre-K through 12, so down to our 4-year-olds all the way to our 18-year-olds. And we're one building, so we have to be on the same page. So we have a lot of people here that are singletons as well, like they're one-person departments. So we need to make sure that they really have their A game when they come in, because they might be running the whole science department by themselves, or they might be doing English by themselves. So we've been very, I would say when I first got here a few years ago, I think I just finished year 6. Yes, I'm going into year 7. When we started interviewing early on, we just kind of had 14, 15 stock questions that we used. And then we're like, we're really not in love with these. So we started rewriting our own questions, and we'd pull questions from other districts. And Todd, the example you gave when I saw you in Seattle was using ChatGPT and using AI. Like we're doing that now, 100%. Like this is what we're looking for. Give us, 8 questions on this, and then you get your own bank, and you can say, I want maybe a little more lighthearted, or I want more on, whatever it might be, standards-based grading. And we've been really able to hone in on who we want and what we want with the right questions. And since we've done that, it's actually made the hiring process really easy. And we think we're getting a pretty good representation of who's about to come.
Love it. Well, Tom, this conversation, it gets me so excited. Like, I want to go lead an interview right now after talking to you. But if people want to connect with you, maybe to learn some more, to ask questions, anything like that, is there a way they can connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Tom Sauve 19. That's SAUVE 19. I'm on there. Our school webpage, if you just Google Elmwood School District in Elmwood, Wisconsin, we pop right up, and all of our information's on there as well. You can connect through email, no problem. And then I don't know if I should throw my cell phone number on here at all, but as I get to know somebody, I have zero problem connecting via cell phone and text. And that's another thing we do with our staff too. We say, hey, here's our number, use it. And that's another way that they can contact us as well. So, but yeah, Twitter and X, or otherwise through our school webpage. Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I hope you all listening connect with Tom with more questions and ideas, because when we all hear how each of us does the interview process, we all do it a little bit better. So, Tom, thank you so much for joining us for a new episode today, and thank you everybody for listening or watching another TEPSA Talk podcast. You can also check out all the past episodes on your favorite listening network today. We hope you join us next week with an all-new guest. See you soon.